Hey, Roger.
All right. Hello, everybody.
Hey, John.
How's it going? I'm going to mute everybody so we can get cooking here. All right. There we go. All right. I want to thank you guys all. I think most of you took advantage of our 4th of July special here. And I know some of you didn't even know what you were buying at the time. So I wanted to get on here and let you guys know what it is, how it works, why you want it, what it does, all that good stuff. And then at the end, we'll do an open Q&A if you've got any questions or anything. So anyway, the product is called SitePop. It's a technology that I've been using since about 2010 on all of my commercial SEO clients. I had an in-house team develop it back then, and we kind of outgrew it. The capabilities that I wanted in it kind of went beyond my team. So I got together with Chris Ormiston, and he said he was using what I already had and loved it. And he said, hey, my team can take this where you really want it to go. So we kind of came together there and co-developed this thing. And he's on the line tonight. So he's going to probably come in and talk a little bit about some of the new features and things that he's working on. But we have developed this thing into a monster. So it's really awesome. But the gist of it is we created it basically for Google. Now it's gone well beyond Google. We're into a lot of other platforms with it, but it's for manipulation of AI. And Google has got a lot of AI in its algorithm now. So we can use this system called SitePop to actually send signals into the search engines that train its AI that you belong at the top. One of the things that the Google AI has learned is brand is very important. That really sucks for the little guy because you don't have brand recognition. So you can't get traction if you don't have brand recognition. So this product comes in and kind of levels the playing field. It will allow searches, brand searches for your site to come through and teach Google's AI that, hey, people know about you and we should feature you at the top of the search. So we went beyond that. Like I said, we've now got it for the Bing search engine. I know a lot of you guys that have followed me in my training, I talk about how Bing is important when you have a female audience, because a lot of females use Bing. It's the default search, and men are notorious for jacking around with stuff. We've got to go in and change all the settings. Women are a little more accepting of things the way they are. They'll buy a computer, they'll plug it in, they'll click the search button, and it searches Bing by default. So that's why, so if women, and and not all women, I mean, don't take offense. If you use Google and you're a woman or woman, don't take offense to that. I'm not talking everyone. Highly functioning women, they kind of cross over. Entrepreneurial women, they kind of cross over. They're going to be using Google. I'm talking normal Jane housewife here. If that's your avatar, then Bing might be worth looking at. So we've developed the platform now to send those signals to Bing. Bing has followed suit with Google. They're very similar in their algorithms at this point. So it works on Bing. We took it even a step further and thought, what if we did this on Amazon? How about if we could manipulate the Amazon algorithm and push people's products to the top? So now it works on Amazon as well. And then we took it to YouTube. We figured YouTube is probably the second biggest search engine, if not the biggest at this point. And it works on that now. So one of the things that we're going to do in the future is we're going to sell these platforms individually. What you guys bought into was you bought into our first round beta version. So you get access to everything. You get to lock in the price. As long as you stick with it, you get everything. If you drop it and come back later, you know, you'll be getting whatever the deal is at that point. But I've always been really good to people that stick with me, start with me, and hang with me. So I've traditionally never raised anyone's prices. I've never pulled the rug out from under anyone. You know, you got it forever. So that's what it is. I'm going to get into kind of showing you guys how it works. It's super simple to set up. I'll give you kind of the gist of what it's doing. It's using cell phones and computers to actually run searches for you. So everyone that's part of the network contributes their devices to the network to make it grow. So when you do this, when you set up a project for your website or your Amazon account or your YouTube account or whatever you're going to use it for, you will connect it to your own cell phone or your own computer or, stuff like that. And then your computer will be running searches for other people on the network. Their computers and their cell phones will be running searches for you. So it's kind of like a big shared combined network. All the devices, you don't have to do any of the searches. It's all done completely automated. You just install the app on your Android phone or your Windows desktop or your Mac desktop and put in your project code, your email address, and let that thing rip. That's about it. It does everything in the background. There's no user interaction to it. It gets all of its instructions from our central server. Our central server will have it do about 17 searches roughly on average per day. So it's very light usage. If you've got it on your cell phone, it's not going to chew up data. It's not going to chew up battery. It just runs in the background. You don't even know it's running. So it's non-invasive. It's not like some radical crazy thing. It just lights up about 17 times a day, gets instructions of what am I searching for, which website am I looking for, what am I clicking on, all those instructions. It acts exactly like you do. So there's nothing fishy about it. It doesn't use proxies. It's real user devices. So there's no footprint to it. It's completely natural. Google sees it completely naturally. So even the keystrokes, even when it's typing in the search, the keystrokes, the time between keystroke is randomized, just like yours are. It does all the stuff that you do. So it's really, I've been called diabolical in the planning of this thing, and kind of is. But I've been working, on stuff to effectively manipulate Google as well as Chris has for over 20 years. So I know what they can see, I know what they look for, and I stay off the radar. I keep my clients safe. And so does Chris. So that's very important to us. So it doesn't do crazy stuff. Here's what it will do. You tell it what keywords that you want to rank for. And it's going to go out to the network. It's going to randomly select someone's device, and it's going to run a search for that keyword. It's going to scroll through Google search pages looking for your website. When it finds it, it's going to click through to it. It's going to spend time on the page it clicks to. And then it's going to take an inventory, if you will, of your internal links of your website. It's going to randomly click one of them, go to that page and repeat the process a few times, just like a real user would. And then it winds up on your contact us page. And then after that, it closes the browser section. What this does is it tells Google that that user got exactly what they wanted. It was a good user experience. If your site does not rank for that particular keyword, it doesn't find it in the first few pages, what it's going to do, it's going to bounce back to Google. Google hates bounces, especially on its own site, because that means it did not provide a good user experience. So it's going to bounce back to the search box, and it's going to add your brand to the keyword. Then it's going to rerun the search. Usually you come up for your brand plus the keyword combination, because no one else is looking for that. No one else is trying to rank for that. It's like extremely limited competition in that term. So you generally come up at the top. It now clicks through. What this does is it tells Google, hey, you didn't give this user the right thing the first time. They had to be more specific. This is the brand they wanted. When it does that enough times, eventually Google gets the picture. Hey, when people search for this keyword, they want that brand. Hence the brand recognition I was talking about originally. If you run a search for almost anything right now, you're going to see big brands at the top. They dominate. They absolutely dominate the search because of this. So that's what we're doing. We're kind of putting the power back in the hands of the little guy to create that brand search capability. There's other ways to do it. They're much harder, much more expensive, and not nearly as reliable. So that's why we've created this and we've developed this, and that's kind of what it's doing, how it's working, all of that. Chris, are you listening in? Did I kind of miss anything? Did I get that pretty well dialed in?
You nailed it, buddy.
All right.
Yeah, no, it was good.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna do like a demo. I'm gonna share my screen and kind of show you guys around in the back end so you can see, how to set up a project, what we're doing, all that. Now, another thing I want to tell you guys, this is SEO. This is search engine optimization. And a lot of people have a very large misconception about how it works. They expect results overnight, and generally SEO doesn't work that way. SEO is kind of a long-term game where you create authority over time, and Google rewards you for that authority by pushing you up in the rank. There's a lot of other things. We're doing the search signals for you, but there's other things too. Your website can't be a disaster and have this come in and fix everything. It doesn't do that. You have to have the right title tags. You have to have, the other stuff that's involved in having the right pieces to the puzzle for optimization. This isn't like a magic wand. It fills a gap that most people can't fill in SEO. So it's a great tool. It's a great product. It does exactly what we meant it to do, but it does not do everything. You still need on-page optimization. You still need to focus on your title tags and your descriptions. And here's why that's important. If we get you to the top, let's say we put SitePop on your site, it's doing its thing, and it pops you up to the top like it's supposed to. Now Google's going to send real traffic to your site. If your site's a disaster, it's going to be sending signals back to Google, hey, you shouldn't be sending people to the site, right? So you're going to shoot yourself in the foot. So you'll go up and then you'll go down, and it's kind of hard to get back up after you've sent those bad signals through. So you need to have a good site. You need to have good quality content. You need to have the right messaging. You need to have calls to action. So when real folks get to your site, they get a good user experience. That's what Google's AI is fully keyed in on right now. It's looking for, where should I send my traffic? If Google does a good job, people return. When people return, their ad dollars go up, not down. That's their main concern. So that's kind of the reasoning why, why SEO is the way it is. It's the reason why Google does what it does. It ultimately wants to provide a good user experience. It does not want to have its system gamed. Now, if you're gaming the system with a good user experience and you're providing that, we're in alignment with what it wants. So we're not likely to get shot down in that case. If we do optimization for a crappy site and Google catches you, that's when you get knocked down. So please, guys, provide good content. Don't use this on garbage sites. It's not what it's meant for. If you need help with SEO, I'm happy to help you guys with that. There's basically two other components. There's link building, which gives you authority through links. It shows Google that other people care about your content and they're sending their traffic to you. So Google doesn't want to miss out on that. And like I had mentioned, the on-page content, the titles. Let me tell you why the titles and the description are the most important thing. When Google does list you, you're going to be one of 10 on the page that the viewer sees. They're going to click one of those 10. Your title and your description is all they have to choose from. They're going to be deciding based on your title and your description if you're the one they're going to click on. That's why title and description is so important in optimization. It's not about jamming a bunch of keywords in. It's about getting something that's very compelling with a call to action, curiosity factor. Those of you that follow my ACT marketing protocol, you'll know that's called a big idea. Big idea is meant to grab attention. It's very effective at it. So that's what you want to use in your titles and your descriptions. You want to grab attention. You want that click. That click tells Google you're the one that they should put to the top. The more clicks you get, the higher you'll rise. So all that in mind, that's SEO in a nutshell these days. It's about who should be at the top based on good user experience. That's in alignment with Google. That's what they want. Get on board with it or you'll suffer. It's basically that simple. So, all right, let me find I'm going to share my screen so you guys can see what this thing is all about. So when you log in, this is the basic dashboard here. You'll see the number of searches you have allocated. This is based on the level of the package that you bought, or granted rather. Allocated means you have them assigned to a project. I'm logged into an agency version here. I set up one project. I assigned 1,000 searches a month to it. We recommend 500 on most sites, especially starting out. This one, I put 1,000 to it. Now notice it says with 3 devices attached, we expect 750 searches this month. So with 3 devices, I'm not going to get 1,000. We give about 250 searches per device that you connect to the network. So if I want the full 1,000, I need to connect 4 here. So that's how the searches are allocated. This is all based on general math of how many devices are in the network. We don't want too many searches on any one device. So every device is good for about 250 searches. So that's how it works. So your device contributes that to the network gives you that back. So it's all based on number of devices that you have connected. So you'll notice the little hamburger menu here. This gives you access to view the project, edit the project, pause the project, and see your reports. It'll report how many people are clicking through, what the rank is, all that stuff. That's where you find that. If we go over to the projects button here, oh, log me out. Let me try this again. I'm gonna go in here and log back in. Okay, so we go back to the projects. You'll see the button here for add new project. So if we want to add a new project, this is where you're going to start by adding a project. You click which one you want. If you want this for Google, if you want it for Bing, Amazon, or YouTube. So I'm just going to click Google here because that's what most people are going to want. Not everybody, but most. So you name the project. I'm just going to call this test. You can call it whatever you want. I usually use the domain name so I can keep track of it there. And then you put in your URL. Now here it says, it gives you hints on what to do, how to do each one of these. It says URL do not include HTTP or www. So this is just your domain. So I'm going to just use test.com. This is our test project. And then it wants your contact page. So generally that's going to be like test.com/contact. You might have like contact.html or whatever it is. If you don't know how to get that, just navigate to your contact page and copy the address right out of the bar at the top. That's how you find that URL. Again, you don't need the HTTP in there. You just need the page address. Next, you go to keywords. You can do up to 12. You put 1 in at a time. So you put 1 in here, like this would be test keyword number 1. If you want another keyword, you hit add new keyword and it'll give you another box. Don't put these in comma separated. It's 1 keyword per box. So I'm going to put in here keyword 2. Put another one here. Keyword 3. Now you can put up to 12. Keep in mind, if you're going to do, let's say you're going to do 2 devices, you're going to connect 2 devices to this, and you're going to get 500 searches a month. It's going to separate this between how many keywords you put in. Like for instance, if I'm going to do, let's do for easy math, let's do 4 keywords. Say I'm going to connect 2 devices. That's going to give me 500 searches a month divided by the 4 keywords. It's roughly 125 searches per keyword. That's a reasonable number of searches, you know, even for a new site. That's not going to be a lot of searches. So that's basically how that goes. Now we go over to the brand. If we go over to brand here, we put in the brand. So one of the things that you can use as brand is you can use your domain. So you can use test.com. Again, same thing. It's 1 per. So you do add company or brand, and you can do the name of your company. You want to put a couple of variations in here so it doesn't always add the same thing. You want it to look like it's natural. So if test keyword 1 doesn't come up, it's going to grab one of these randomly and add it to that, rerun the search. So you can put, you know, you can put several in here. I don't know if there's a limit, but I usually put at least 2 or 3. I usually put the domain name and the company name at the very minimum. If you're doing this for something like a dentist or a doctor, you could actually use the doctor's name as a brand. That's a very natural thing to be searched. So you could use the keyword plus the doctor's name. It'll add it in there if the keyword doesn't come up. So that's a good way to do that. Next, you come down here and you put your address. Now, some of you are operating out of your home and you don't want to put your home address. It's no problem. Just put the city. You know, put I'll put Huntington Beach in here, and boom, it'll just geolocate in the middle of that. The reason you do that is because it wants to know where the business is. It's going to look for devices in our network that's closest to the business, and it's going to hit it hardest from the core, and then it's going to move out. Again, this is all very natural behavior. We've programmed everything into this. I mean, we went to depths you guys wouldn't believe to figure out what looks natural and how to reproduce that. So once this is all set up here, you go ahead and at the bottom, you can click the button there for save details. And now it's going to do that. Now you see, if we go back to here, it's created a code. See, on the code here, that's your project code. So when you load the app on your Android phone or your desktop, that's the code it's looking for. So it's going to ask you for that code. So that's where you get it. If you go back to the dashboard, you'll see the code is right there. So you can copy the code from there, or you can go over to projects and you can get it there. Now it's alerting me I don't have any devices connected here. So that's the next thing you want to do. And to do that, you can go over to the devices tab, and this is where you can get, like, if you want to download the Windows device, you can do it right there. The Mac, this does not work for iOS. It does not work on the Apple phones. It'll work on Mac computers, and it'll work on Android phones. So you can get it through the Google Store. If you go to the Google App Store, you can download it. If you go over to the training area, and in fact, I'll go there in just a minute, but if you go and you download it, the app is called Marketing Assistant. So if you look for it in the Google Play Store, search for Marketing Assistant. It's the one with the little green light bulb on it. And it'll also be published by Chris Ormiston. So that's how you know you've got the right one. And you install that. Once you've installed it, you start it up, it asks for your project code and your email address. The email address really isn't used for anything, so you can put any email address in there you want as long as it's formatted properly. It could literally be test@test.com. We're not sending mail to it. We're not even checking it or testing it. I use that for a specific reason. Like, see here, my domain name is internetdominators.com. So over here, I'm using id.com. That's not even a real email address, but I'm putting TCL1 at ID, TCL2 at ID. Those are cheap cell phones that I bought just to do this. And I name them TCL1, TCL2, and I label them. So if the phone goes offline for some reason, I can see it in here and I know which one to go reactivate. And then this one is my laptop. So I create email addresses that tell me what the device is so I can look in here and see what's going on. So it just keeps it real clean and simple. Some people will be using a lot of devices. Some people will have multiple projects. Some people are running agencies, and they might be buying a network of cheaper phones to do this for their clients. I like to make my clients run these on their own apps, but in some industries, people are a little squeamish about that, like especially in finance and medical practice. They don't want apps on their equipment for legal reasons, what have you. So in that case, we just charge them a little bit more and we buy the phones and we run this for them. So in that case, I've got a network of probably 75 phones in my office. If one of them goes online, I don't want to go have to hunt through 75 phones. I want to go to TCL1 and click it, turn it back on. So anyway, there's white label on the agency version. There's a white label function to this. The biggest part of that is going over here into my account and making sure that you put your website address, your company name, your phone number, because that's going to show up on the app. If you're doing this for other clients, they will contact you directly if they have a question or something. And this is where they get that information. If you don't want your information on the app and you want it completely generic, you can check this off, show custom message. And you can put in here like, this app is doing your marketing. Please leave it turned on all the time. If you turn it off, you're not going to get any marketing done. So we made it to where you can use it either way. You can either put your company information in there or you can give them a custom message. So that's found under your account. That's your account details. So that's where you get to that. The white label is if you want to change the label here. Now, this is not for your clients. Your clients don't log into your back end. This would be if you had employees or you had outsourcers and you didn't want them to know this was SitePop. You want them to think this is your proprietary software because you don't want them to rip it off and go steal your clients or whatever. So if you're truly doing the white label and you got people working for you, you can load your company logo up here. You can actually run this on your own subdomain. So when they log in, they're logging in on your domain to our back end. Now to do that, to pull that off, you have to do this, and then you have to go over to your hosting provider, wherever your DNS records are, and you basically have to create a CNAME record in there. I know this might be well over a lot of your heads, but if you're a white label, this should make sense. If it doesn't, we can help you with it if you want to do that. So next is training. This is where it transitions. This is truly our back end that runs our system. Our training is run in Kartra. So you'll notice when you signed up, you got two logins. One of them is your Kartra login. That's your billing. That's your support. That's your training. And then you get another one from our back-end system. That's the nuts and bolts. That's the actual program. So this is basically, you start here. A lot of the stuff I just went through with you is stuff that's in here as well. I'm going to actually put this video up in here so you've got access to it there again. But there's, again, where you download the apps. This is if you forget how to get to the back end. Here's a link back to it. It's my.site-pop.com, and that'll give you another link to get back into it. I've made a couple of best use videos. These cover, a lot of SEO stuff. It's how we find our keywords. I like to use what I call traction keywords for this. A traction keyword is a keyword that you already rank maybe on page 2 or 3 or 4. Google's already decided you're valuable. They just don't know how valuable. We put those traction keywords in here. We let SitePop show Google how valuable you are. So that's how I like to pick keywords for this particular program. There's also a Q&A. And what I talked about before, there's a managing multiple devices. This is if you're an agency and you want to build a bank of phones, this is what my phone banks look like. You can get the charger base on Amazon. You can buy these phones for about 20 to 30 bucks now. They're Blade phones or TCL phones. They are cheap phones though. They're a little problematic because they go offline a lot. So they do require a little maintenance of turning them on and off. Now I've got my regular, what is this? A Samsung Galaxy S9. This is my personal phone here. I've had the app running on it for like 2 years flawlessly. It just runs in the background. It's never unhooked. But this is a multi-$100 phone. It has capability to listen on multiple channels. The biggest thing we found with these cheap phones is they don't have that capability to listen on multiple channels. So if a notification comes up from any of the other apps on the phone, it blocks the phone from communicating with our server, and then it goes offline. So you have to go and restart the app, which can be kind of a pain. But it's just the cost of running a big network like that. I've got a video I did on how to get the best out of that, like going in and deleting all the other apps, turning off all the notifications, to make it as least painful as possible. Here is links to where you can get the cheaper phones if you want to do that. The phone banks, there's the link for the charging station. And there's just a lot of stuff. I show my naming convention, how I name the phones so I keep track of them. All this stuff. There's a lot of good information in here in the training site. And there's bonuses for those of you that are in the agency. Let's see. This is basically, I created a Kartra funnel for you to actually sell this to your clients. And that you can download the funnel. There's the import code if you've got Kartra, or if you want to get Kartra, there's a link to that as well. So anyway, that's in a nutshell, that's kind of the scoop behind this, what it is, how it works, all that good stuff. I know Chris is going to be on here for a few more minutes and then he's got to run. So let me kind of, just before I get into Q&A, let me open it up to him and just kind of let him fill in whatever blanks I may have missed.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, so a couple things. I think you did a really good job of covering everything. I think there's a couple of things that I would like to add, which is one of them is that you should default to having your customers run this on their apps first before you buy phones, because it's the most stable. And it also, what I found is that they love to, help out anything they can in their marketing. And they're excited to do this, to anything they can do to kind of help with their own marketing. They're super excited to help out any way that they can. So don't be afraid to ask them. I was actually kind of nervous to ask them at the beginning because I wasn't quite sure. And they're like, yeah, how many do you want? And I'm like, as many as you have. They're like, okay, we'll have everybody install it on their phones. So even though they only needed 2 devices, we had like 9 people install it. And it's like, more is better than not enough, Here, let me turn my video on so you guys can see me. There we are. I have that stupid background on. Let me take that off. I was playing with that. All righty, that's my real background. So default, man, what is that? That light is real bright there. Let me do that. So basically that default is to your customers, you know, let them help you out. The second thing is, what was it? It was, yeah, when you're setting up a project, I would say use less keywords at the beginning than more. And the reason why is because, like John was explaining, when you have, say, 12 keywords, it's split between 500 different searches, and that's only like 1.5 searches per day. And if you think that that's going to move the dial for Google, I think you might want to think again. What you really want to do is you want to start out with like your major keywords, the ones that make the biggest difference, and start with like 2, maybe 3 keywords. So you're getting about 150 to 200 searches per keyword. That will move the dial. Now, even still, that's pretty thin, because if you break it down, that's only like 3 searches, 4 searches a day when you break it down. So you need to make sure that you're searching enough to make a difference. If it's more competition, you're going to want to do 1,000 searches, and you're going to only want to have 2 keywords. If it's something that's in a smaller city, less competition, then, you know, put in 4 keywords and you should be good to go. But you just need to kind of keep in mind what's actually happening on a daily basis, so that Google can adjust the algorithms appropriately. If you're getting 1 more search per day on a website, I can promise you Google's not going to give you any, they're not going to glance your way at all with 1 extra search. You know what I mean? If you're getting 20 extra searches a day, they're like, whoa, what's going on here? They went, you know, we haven't seen these people before, and everybody's looking for them. You know what I mean? So just kind of keep that in mind as you're starting out projects.
Gives them FOMO.
Yeah. Yeah, really. And those are the only 2 things I was kind of thinking of. All the rest you covered really well. One other thing too is that we're always happy to jump on with you guys. Like if you're starting up a new project and you're a little bit nervous, you're like, hey, I'm not quite sure if I set it up right. Make sure you send in a support ticket, and we'll jump on like a Zoom call just like this, just us and you. And we can check your project. We can talk you through it to make sure that you're 100% confident that you have your project set up properly. So don't feel like you're bothering us by reaching out to us. We'd love to work with you guys to make sure, you know, it's going to be successful. And we can talk about some of your other SEO stuff too, to make sure you're doing the right linking, on-page optimization. And we've got some suggestions on some cool tools you can use for on-page and stuff like that to make it easier for you. Because it can get complicated unless you have the right tools, then it's a piece of cake. So.
Roger, go ahead. No, we're not hearing you.
There we go.
There we go.
Hey, John, sorry about that.
No
Chris, John,
problem.
great presentation. I actually jotted 3 questions, but I'll just ask one. Honey, can you bring that down? Your volume. Sorry, I have an echo. My wife just is right next to me, and her
Awesome.
speaker's on. Okay. I was under the impression that the power of SitePop is that, let's say there's 1,000 people in the user base that are using SitePop, that my project would get disseminated to the rotation of their searches, all 1,000 people. And by adding my device, I more or less agree to the terms of service, which is my device will now be searching people I don't know's sites. But what it looks like that you're actually doing is I'm only searching from the devices that I personally add in.
Actually, it's just the opposite. What you explained the first time is what we actually do. So basically, when you add a device, you join the board, and you just become one of the group. And the reason why we do that is because there may be 20 or 30 people that are right in like maybe a 10 square mile area of your business, like a dentist that you're doing or something like that. We want them to search for your stuff. Maybe you're 50 miles away. You may never even search for your own client ever in the history of your project, which doesn't matter, because the ones who should be searching are the ones that are closest to your customer. And so that's kind of how we've kind of structured it.
I'm going to yield for other questions and circle back when everybody's silent.
All right, cool. Thanks, Roger.
All right. Anybody else got questions? Or go ahead, Roger. We're ready for your second one.
Second thing, you used the word keywords, but I saw when John, you brought up your example, keywords can actually be multiple words, like a phrase. That counts as one keyword. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So it could be like Phoenix dentist rather than just the word dentist. It could be Phoenix dentist or, San Diego dentist, something like that.
Yeah, another term that you guys may have heard, I don't know if I used it on this particular session, but it's long tail keyword. And a long tail keyword just means there's more words in the phrase. So the longer it gets, the more unique it becomes and the less competition there is for it. So when you're starting out, sometimes it's better to go for those longer tail keywords. The other thing about long tail keywords is usually people don't get this. Usually long tail keywords convert better. They will actually convert to more sales than generic keywords. And here's the reason why. When somebody runs a search, when somebody goes to look for something, let's say they want to buy something, their first search is usually educational. They're trying to learn about it. They're not like, they don't have their credit card in their hand and they're like ready to buy it yet. They're trying to figure out what do I want? And the more they learn, the more specific their searches get. The longer they get, the more direct they get, because they know now what they want. Now they've got their credit card in their hand and they're actually ready to buy it. So I tell people, I go, don't waste your effort on generic keywords because that's the first search. What I want is the last search. There's very few searches done for those long tail keywords, but those are the ones that convert. So, focus on those. They're easier to rank for and they pay off better. It just makes a lot of sense. George is asking about how this affects the Google Analytics. Google Analytics is going to see these searches done. So if you've got a client and let's say they're measuring their ROI, you have to factor this in because they might think, oh man, we're getting more traffic, but we're not getting more sales. SitePop doesn't buy your stuff. It's just, it's going to give you analytics data, but it's not going to give you sales. So you have to understand that. And the other thing, some people have Google Analytics set up very weird ways where sometimes it doesn't show 100% accurate. In fact, most of the time it doesn't show 100% accurate. So don't expect, 100% accuracy on any analytics. So, and Chris, I know you address this all the time. So I know you've found stuff that I've just pass over to you.
Sure. How about if I answer Ray's question, which is, does this apply to any page on a site?
Okay, sure.
So that is a great question because what he's asking is it only for your front page, like just the domain.com? And it doesn't. It applies to any page that's ranking. For instance, and it's all up to Google. We really have nothing to do with this. Google makes that decision. So I want to make that real clear. When somebody types in Phoenix dentist, it may rank for, and often it ranks for, like say the Phoenix Dental Group or something like that, right? It'll rank for that particular website, but it could rank on an inside web page that is basically focused on Phoenix dentists. So maybe they have a whole page that has 1,000 words that are written all about how Phoenix dentists are very popular and whatnot. And Google may go to that page and say, this one is more important than your front page because it is more applicable. They may rank that. And so Google makes that decision on which page, whether it's an internal page or your front page, which one ranks. And then basically what you want to do is you want to make sure that you know which one Google likes the best and make sure that's the one that you're focused on.
And Ray is asking a direct related question to that about subdomains.
Yeah, same with subdomains. Yeah, subdomains can be very powerful, especially if you have the keyword as the subdomain. We use that as a strategy many times for ranking websites on the search engines.
And Lorenzo wants us to kind of cover the Amazon, like how the Amazon thing works. So
yeah,
I know you've done that, so I'll let you play with that one.
So maybe I can just kind of use a case example because this worked really well for them. So basically, it was a company that had a product that was related to golf, but it was not a specific golf product. It wasn't a golf ball. It wasn't a golf club. They were wipes for golf balls. So think about this. You know, the baby wipes that come in like those little boxes, you know, and you open up the lid and you pull them out. Where these were specially made ones just for golf balls. It was like had like almost like a sandpaper finish on one side, so you could really like take the grit off of a golf ball. And so they're like, hey, we want to rank for golf on Amazon, and I'm just like, golf is a big word on Amazon. You know what I'm talking about? So what we decided is we ranked for golf balls and for golf clubs, because what we do is we would rank for golf balls cleaner and golf clubs cleaner. So we could rank for those, that main keyword, right? And so we were able to do that. We were able to get them on the front page of Amazon for their wipes for golf clubs and golf balls. And so that's not always the case. Sometimes you have the exact product, like maybe for instance, you have a flashlight for pet urine or something like that, because they have like UV flashlights for pet urine. So it may be like pet urine flashlight, you know, that kind of thing. And so the keyword is the product kind of a thing. And so it just depends on what it is. But the bottom line is you can have a bunch of people search for a particular product, pet urine flashlight, and then they will search and they'll go down page after page until they find your product, and they'll click on it, and then you know, we'll stay on that page for a while, that kind of thing. So what that tells Amazon is that they're looking for your product and not the ones that are listed on top. And so they'll correct that from an algorithmic standpoint, and they'll put yours on top rather, to fix that problem. So that's kind of how that works on Amazon to move your products rather to the top of the to the listing when people type in those search keywords.
Cool. And a great story about Amazon is Chris actually does some costume stuff around Halloween, and there's a particular vendor that he buys from, and the vendor wasn't on the first page, and he kept getting sick of paging down to find him, so he pushed him to the top.
That's right. So look at this right here. I'll show you what I do. Some people like this. It's this stuff right here. See this Batman costume right there? So that's made out of this special foam. It's like kind of a dense foam. And that's what we did. And so my favorite dense foam manufacturer, the people that I buy from, I pushed them to the top. They didn't ask me to or anything. I just did it because I love them. And we needed somebody to test on anyway. So it is a fun thing.
You just didn't want to page through to look for them anymore.
Yeah, just because I'm lazy, you know.
All right, Roger, go ahead.
Hey, Chris, you mentioned the great feature of geolocation for a local business like a dentist. Yeah. What about for a national product like entrepreneurial training courseware that anybody in the nation might want?
Yeah. And so basically what we'll do at that point is we'll still start from their central location, and it'll be like on a pond. It'll go out much faster, because for those bigger ones, you're going to need more searches. And so naturally we're going to run out of searches for the near ones. So it'll just kind of expand much faster. And in some cases, if there's a lot of searches, like if you're doing like say 5,000 or 10,000 searches a month for a particular industry, it may even go out of the country, which is just as viable, because there's expats, there's other people that search for products. And so Google respects even, you know, countries outside the United States doing searches inside to rank them internally. So that may even be a case as well.
Yeah, we've got devices now all over the world. There's over 10,000 devices in our network at this point.
Yeah.
So they're everywhere.
Got a lot to play with.
Yeah, and I wanted to answer a question here for Ray. He wants to know if it'll work on a newer site. Absolutely. The thing it'll do with a new site is it will give it that brand authority, because a lot of times a new site won't rank for anything. So it'll start revising the searches, putting your brand to it, and it will help you get started. It'll help kickstart you. So it absolutely, there's no reason not to use it on a new site. Just, you know, I mean, don't expect miracles. It's the same thing with SEO. Like I said earlier, make sure your on page is good, get some good quality links, and throw this on right away. The sooner the better.
George was asking, do these phones need to be attached to a cell network? No. And that's one of the critical things about when you buy like a cheap phone, like 20 bucks, you don't need to buy a service with it. Just make sure you connect it to your Wi-Fi and you're good to go.
Yeah. Yep. I've got all the ones in my office. They're all just connected to Wi-Fi. One of the problems I ran into by doing that was my router could only handle like 10 connections. So they kept dropping off. So I got the little repeaters and I just plugged a few repeaters in and then I connect like 10 to each repeater. And that kind of did the trick.
Also, we have two hands raised. Let's answer, or let's get Richard's question first, and then we'll go to Woody.
Okay. Richard, go for it.
Okay, can you hear me at this point or not?
Yep.
Yep.
Hear you.
Oh, yay. Okay. I was wondering, with regard to Amazon, have you tried this with books?
It should not be any different with books because the algorithms are the same when you're searching for books versus products.
Super.
Yep. Good question. Woody, you got a question for us?
Well, John had to join last couple of weeks. Whatever John says, I go, all right. So why
You'll go
not?
for it.
What would you say in internet hygiene that we should use this product like weekly? Like, oh, you spend this much time on lead generation, this time on composition, time on repurposing
The
content.
cool thing with SitePop is really you set it up and it just runs. It does all this automated in the background for you.
It's a
There's
spend.
there's very little that you need to do once this is up and running. You just make sure your devices stay connected. That's about it. But you could use this on your woodyblagman.com. We could use keywords that were related to real estate in the cities that you're in and let this thing just start doing its work for you.
Might as well.
Yeah, it's a good thing to do. All right, Mr. McLean, you got your hand up there.
I was just stretching, but yeah, since you called on me, I'll go ahead and say something. Hey, everyone, nice to see you all. Thanks, John. Thanks, Chris. Could one of you two talk about any special or how it works on YouTube specifically and what advantages and things like that? Thank you.
Sure. You want that one, Chris? Or
Yeah, I'll take that one. Sure. So basically, with YouTube, it's very much the same as any other search engine. So basically, the premise behind search engines it's a popularity contest. And so what this does is it allows you to become popular when people type in a certain key phrase looking for certain types of videos. For instance, if they're looking for Phoenix chiropractor, I mean, from a business perspective, it allows you to rank business type videos, fairly well, because not a lot of people will be typing in business. I mean, like say Phoenix chiropractor or something like that. A decent number for sure, but not like half the United States kind of a thing. So what it does is it gives you a unique opportunity to rank a video for your critical keywords on YouTube and use it as like a search engine. But the results are a video that people can watch and experience versus something that they can click on and read.
And that's my specific question on that is when people go to when the SitePop software in its automation, it'll spend a certain amount of time on pages and whatnot. But with YouTube, and by the way, I know when people go to a page and bounce off, that's bad. So my specific question is, yeah, but what if in YouTube, it's not a page, it's an actual video. What happened with the software?
Well,
how long does it?
Video. So the videos are watched.
All the way through?
Yep, all the way through.
Oh, see, now that's really got to make an impression on the search engine when people watch the whole damn thing all the way to the end.
So, which is really good. You don't have partial watches; you have full watches on each one.
Okay. Follow up on that is, my second question, I was going to ask, well, do you guys find then that video should be a certain length in order to be successful? But it sounds like it doesn't matter.
It's best if it's under 15 minutes because we do have a 15-minute cutoff just because we have to get to another search on that phone. But, most videos are less than 15 minutes long anyway. And 15 minutes, if you're to watch that much of any video, is a good portion of that video regardless.
I understand it, but John, doesn't that kind of go to what you were saying earlier? Is that you've got to have a site that is good. Like the SitePop will get a lot of people there, but when Google, for example, starts sending people to your site, you've got to have something there that's going to attract them. So I'm just thinking out loud that
It's the same thing with your video. If you've got a crappy video and you send SitePop traffic to it and it pops it to the top, and then real people go there and they bounce off, you're going to defeat the purpose. So yeah, it's absolutely the same thing. It's
the
all
same
about
thing.
content, regardless
Yeah.
of whether you're going for YouTube or Amazon or Google or Bing. It's all about user experience.
Yeah,
So
see, so that's really something to think about. Then research on, the common wisdom is when you make a YouTube video, if you have, let's say you had like a 20-minute video, and the common wisdom is, well, don't do that. No one's going to watch a 20-minute video. Break it up into 5 sections. I mean, make the segments smaller. In other
yeah,
words,
exactly. The other thing
yeah.
you can do too is you can use regular open loops in your video. Like if you tell them what's coming, you tease them so you don't bore them. If you bore people on a video, they're done, they're out. There's no reason, they're not going to stick around. It's not like they're sitting in a seminar room and they're going to be embarrassed if they get up and leave. You don't have that working for you. So you've got to do everything you can to keep them in the seat, keep them watching. So open loops, that's an NLP technique that works really well. And it's basically just telling them what they're about to hear, or saying, what I'm about to tell you is really important. It's going to change your life. They're like, oh shit. They start leaning forward. They start listening, that kind of stuff. That will keep them engaged in a video. And again, if you give them good content and it's highly relevant, that again is going to keep them in there. So I had another question here from Lorenzo about Kajabi sites. And yeah, Kajabi sites, Kartra sites, Shopify sites, and basically any website. Again, user experience, sometimes those sites load a little slower, which can hinder your user experience a little bit. But, all in all, there's no problem with using, SitePop on any of those type of sites. Let's see. George wants to know, once a site ranks, what kind of maintenance is needed in terms of searches. We generally let these go on and on and on. Like all my commercial sites, I've been using this since 2010. I have not let off the gas pedal. It's the same thing. If you do, you're declining in the signals that were getting you and keeping you there. With Google, it's all about signals. They're counting all these search signals up. And at the end of the day, they count the search signals as points. At the end of the day, whoever has the most points is going to win. It's like an abacus. You just keep sliding the little beads over, and whoever has the most beads at the end of the day wins. So there's no reason to let off the gas when you're doing anything that's working in SEO. The only time I would recommend, cutting stuff back in SEO is when things shift to different signals and those signals are no longer looked at. But I can assure you these type of signals are going to be looked at for a very long time into the future. Like I predicted this in like 2009. I started talking about it 2010. By 2011, I had a system developed and we were actually sending the signals. And I've been using it ever since. And back then, it was like nobody was talking about it. Nobody even knew about it. They had no idea what I was doing, but this was the only thing that moved the needle for my commercial clients after 2010. The only thing. It saved my ass. And it's been saving it ever since. And it amazes me that no one has figured it out. No one else is doing it. They're doing it with micro workers, which costs a fortune, and it'll drive you absolutely nuts trying to manage, 1,000 Indians doing a 25-cent task. it's crazy. But anyway, there's not really much maintenance. Once you set it up, it just does its thing. It just runs. Okay, let's see. I think we're about to the end of the questions. Did I miss anything? Has anybody got anything left there? Richard, did you have something?
Oops. I was wondering about the YouTube thing. I'm, as you know, putting together well, happily it's a 14-minute video, not 15. But I'm going to actually be paying YouTube to put in front of people. But if I can augment that with some regular searches doing this, they're pretty long tail keywords that I'm going after. I'm going after real damn specific audience, as you know, you've read the script.
Mm-hmm.
And
and length of video, don't let like somebody say, hey, it's only 15 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever. The SitePop is only going to watch like up to 15 minutes of it, but that doesn't mean that you can't use a longer video. If somebody watches 15 minutes of a video, Google, YouTube is going to say, yeah, that's a pretty good video.
so
what I always tell people is, how long should your video be? It should be only long enough to get the job done. If it's longer than that, you're going to lose people's interest. There's no reason for it. It's like when I teach people copywriting, I say, look at every word on the page. Can you remove a word and it still means the same thing? Then get it the hell out of there.
Yes, I reread my script and took a lot of words out. Thanks, John. But
people
that means,
appreciate that.
well, this looks like then you could run searches on YouTube and run searches on Google for a video, right? For the
Yeah. See, what happens when Google sees a video is hot, it not only pushes it to the top of YouTube, it also features it in Google itself. So you can get a double whammy on that
Well, I'm looking forward to it. Thanks, John.
one. Absolutely. Okay, so Brian wants to know, how does it decide which page when you have multiple pages? The reason you only put the domain in, you don't put a particular page in. When it runs the search on Google, it's going to look for your domain. The first page it finds is the one it's going to click on. It's going to click because that's natural, right? That's the natural order of things. You wouldn't see the domain you wanted and say, oh, well, that wasn't the page, and keep looking, right? You would click the first one that comes up, and that's what it does. So you might rank for multiple pages for any given keyword, but it's going to take the first one that it sees. A lot of times it's going to be your home page. That doesn't mean that it doesn't help. And here's something I want to share with you guys, and this is like crazy powerful. You're usually, like when you're doing SEO, you're focused on whatever keywords, like it might be 5 keywords or 10 keywords or whatever. And those are the ones you're hyper focused on. You're watching the results on them. You're measuring it. You're running analytics. But when you're doing that, you've got this like tunnel vision on, and it's all you're looking at. What SitePop does, and we've seen this on many, many sites, it will raise hundreds, if not thousands of keywords that are ancillary to the ones you're hitting on. And the way we see that is usually with a program called SEMrush, where it will show you all the keywords that you rank for and stuff you wouldn't even have thought. We had one of our clients, he was an agency user, and the first client he used this on was a dentist. And he showed me an analytics report where he said, I hope my analytics software is not screwed up. He had hundreds of first page listings after using this for about 2 months. He wasn't even looking at that. And he saw this report and he's like, holy crap. At first he was thinking, wow, is this thing really working? Because, it was pushing his keywords up a little bit, but he was using ultra competitive keywords. But he didn't see the ultra effect it had on hundreds and thousands of other keywords. So it has SEO is like equity building. When you build the equity, it all slides downhill onto everything below. So it's very, very powerful. When you create authority to your domain, it doesn't just push up the keywords you're pushing on, it pushes them all up. It's kind of like when the tide rises in the harbor, all the boats go up, not just the ones you're looking at. So it's a pretty cool side effect of what this thing does. So let's see here. Right. A lot of people asking me about this recording. I record everything, guys. Don't worry. I will always let you have my recordings. It's not a big deal. There's training every once in a while. I'll get on and I'll make an announcement, and I'll do a live call like this. And sometimes I'll cover like SEO best practices, all that stuff. Is all available too in the members area for you guys. And I'll be doing more of those in the future. If any of you guys are part of my Dominator family, I'm on the calls every Thursday. Anything you need, I'm here for you. So I think that's it, unless you guys have more. Roger, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to mention that it was funny. Some of us were on Craig's call with Scott from Be Connected. And we're like, Scott, Craig, we love you, but we're all leaving to go to John.
Oh, that probably went over big. Sorry, Scott. He's on here.
It's all good.
Oh, very cool.
I didn't know they were doing a call right now, so it was not meant to compete.
No, it was a great 1 hour explanation, covered everything. It was good.
Cool. Yeah, Be Connected is awesome. If you guys aren't in on that, I mean, the major benefit, even if you don't want to go for the bigger plan, at least get in and get the free thing so you can get access to the Zoom account. I mean, that is absolutely priceless. If you guys don't know about that, they give you access to an enterprise level Zoom account for like $12.99 a month. That's crazy. That's like, just the webinar platform's $40 a month. Their regular is like 15, so that's $55 a month. If that's all you ever use, you're getting it for 12. Lock it in forever. It's a no-brainer.
That's the only.
Fun. Wait.
That's the only reason we're considering it now, John, because there's no reason for our business to get in there because it wouldn't work for our.
Yeah. Got it. Yeah, but you're absolutely right. So regardless of whether it works for the rest of your business, it will work for the enterprise Zoom. So there's no reason that everybody doesn't do it. Everybody should have that enterprise Zoom for $12.99. So regardless of your business, regardless of your plans, you need that. If you're online, you need Zoom. So, all right. Anything else here before we wrap it up? I don't want to keep you guys. I know it's probably dinner time for some of you, and I got fish jumping behind the boat here. I can hear them. All right, guys. Well, let's wrap it up for tonight. I'll do more of these, as you get going. So don't ever feel lost. And like Chris said, if you put in a support ticket, we're happy to jump on and help you, set up your projects or whatever. So thank you all for being on here and joining the network, and look forward to working with you. Have a great night, everybody.